We've seen how COVID-19 pandemic shaped a new world order. Work from home, telemedicine, education, groceries are few things that we have experienced ourselves. In the altered ecosystem, companies like Infosys, TCS have played a huge part in getting Fortune 500 companies get ready for their next. We know very little about B2B. B2C is mainstream visible. So today we are going to know about B2B marketing. It can be customized, it can be creative, and it can be very impactful. So let's welcome Mr. Navin Rammohan. Hello, hi Navin.
Hi Jasravee, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Jasravee. It's a pleasure to speak to you as always. So lovely to meet you and talk to your audience. I'm absolutely glad to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Navin Rammohan is Vice President, Segment Head Marketing at Infosys. So before we benefit from all his knowledge and experience, let's understand a bit about his role at Infosys.
Thank you, Jasravee. You're making it very formal.
Okay, I have to say Navin is my batchmate from Micah.
Yeah, I know. So you say Mr. Navin Rammohan, I feel very odd. That's not how we talk to each other. So yeah, but a little bit about me. I've been with Infosys now for almost 17 years now. So it's been a long time with Infosys. And it's been a fascinating journey with Infosys so far for me. I've covered almost every aspect of marketing role within the organization, starting from product marketing to regional marketing to industry marketing to covering all kinds of channels, whether it is events, whether it is digital, and across all markets. I think currently I look after something called as industries marketing, which is we call it by field marketing and vertical marketing in different IT services companies. So I lead the global marketing for all industries. I also manage some of the other portfolios of Infosys, which are corporate portfolios like large events, customer events, flagship events, our partnership in the sports category. And then I also look after the European marketing from a regional perspective. So it's quite an eclectic mix, but I'm enjoying every moment of it, and it's been great fun actually.
Infosys is the fastest growing IT services brand among top 10 clients in ranking, claiming spot in big 4 IT services companies globally, and the brand value is up by 19%. That's huge, isn't it?
No, it's frankly a great recognition for our brand. We've been working towards building our brand over the last decade or so. I think once things have opened up quite a bit in our space. But yeah, this was a recent acknowledgement that we had got from Brand Finance, where we are considered one of the fastest growing IT companies from a brand value perspective. So it's a good recognition, and we are happy that we are playing a small part in really taking the brand global and making the brand a lot more visible in our core market. So
how does Infosys build its thought leadership?
Yeah, I think probably before that, Jasravee, before we come to probably the Infosys brand journey and how we do it, I think it's important to understand probably what's happening in this digital space itself, because I think there are multiple trends that are happening in our industry, which is shaping the way we change our marketing approach. We've seen that even before pandemic, I think this wave had started. It's not that it's happened only after the pandemic started, but even before that, most organizations have been going towards the direction of becoming digital natives. They were all digital immigrants, for that matter, because they were all born in the pre-cloud era. But we realized that they're just not able to cope up with the speed and the kind of expectation that consumers who are becoming digital on their own expect from organizations. Just to cover some of these trends, one of the trends that we are seeing is the consumerization of user experience. Everyone, like you and me, we all have our iPhones and Android phones and all kinds of things, and we have a certain kind of user experience that we are used to. But that's not the kind of user experience that you get when you get into an enterprise, when you go into your organization and you feel that the kind of applications that you have in the organization are very outdated and are not as fast and as easy to navigate like what you have in your iPhone and this thing. So there is this whole shift that all enterprises are trying to make their applications more user centric and better user experience. So there is this whole consumerization of user experience that is happening. That's the first shift that is happening, and that has an impact on how we market our thing. The second big shift that we are seeing is really around the adoption of cloud. And if you look at cloud as an entity, it has increasingly become more and more important for every enterprise now. It used to be public clouds, then moved into private clouds. Now we have this concept of multi clouds and hybrid clouds, kind of an example. So just to give you an example, if you look at what's happening from a cloud perspective, it started off more like people went to cloud more to optimize their applications that were there, the infrastructure applications that were there. Then they realized that cloud has become an important way to create new products and take out new products much faster. So agility became a big thing. From there, it became innovation. Cloud helped the companies to innovate and do a lot more things faster. And now it's become a great tool from a resilience perspective. So it's gone through this journey of really from being a cost optimization factor to agility to innovation to resilience, and that's the journey which most companies are taking with cloud. If you look at Netflix, you watch your movies, and they're big consumers of cloud in that sense. When you watch a movie, that movie is hosted on a private cloud by Netflix, so it provides you the speed, and they can make sure it is secure and things like that. But all the preferences and who is watching, how many, what have you watched before, your favorites, and all of those kind of features, they are all in public cloud. So Netflix has adopted a private and a public cloud kind of a strategy. So most companies are now going in this direction of having two kinds of cloud strategy. One is public cloud strategy and one is a private cloud strategy. And that has a huge implications for companies like Infosys, TCS, and others, Accentures of the world, because we have to come and help them shape that direction in terms of how to navigate public cloud and private cloud and interoperability between these two things. So that's the second big shift that we are really seeing. The third that we are seeing is really around cybersecurity. Cybersecurity with increasing digitization that is happening, there is increasing need to really secure your application. So I think there is a big movement around making sure all your applications are secure, and cybersecurity is becoming very, very important. The fourth is around open source technologies, and when I say open source technologies, I mean Chrome is open source, Firefox is open source, Linux is open source, Android is an open source thing. Most enterprises earlier were very, very afraid to touch open source technologies, and now they've become a lot more open because they've seen the scalability that it gives them, the flexibility that it gives them, and it is cheap. So you can actually take a lot of these open source technology and create platforms that will help you leapfrog from an innovation perspective. In fact, the entire Aadhaar platform that is there is built using open source software technologies. The UPI, which is a payments infrastructure in India, which does about 2 billion transactions every month, means you can't think about the scale of these kind of transactions. 2 billion transactions a month is just unheard of, kind of a thing. And it's only possible because open source software allows you to scale that much, kind of a thing. So these kind of technologies are going to impact more and more. And finally, I think there is this whole move towards modernization of your IT core applications. A lot of these large enterprises had legacy applications. And what there is a trend towards actually changing some of those things in an agile way, in a way that you can automate a lot of these applications so that you can move much faster and not be tired down by legacy applications. So just to take an example again, ICICI as a bank in India is leapfrogged on their technology because they never had legacy. They started off with new technologies. So the kind of speed at which you can do account transfers, transfer money from one account to another account, and all kinds of transactions from a banking perspective, if possible, which used to take days earlier, now happens in minutes, is because they have a very strong core. They have modernized their core applications. So all of these 5-6 trends that I spoke about is helping organizations to move towards a digital native era. It is making them faster. It is making them more resilient. It is making them manage new kinds of crises that are happening much faster. So they're able to respond back to some of these things much faster. And what COVID did was, while people were on this journey, COVID has just come and accelerated this whole thing. So people who were thinking about a 3-year journey have now had to do that in 3 months time. So that's the kind of shift that has happened. So I strayed away a little bit from the original question that you had, just to give you a context of what is the environment that we are really operating in. And this is the environment. It's organizations who are coming to people like us and Infosys to say, hey, help me navigate from where I am right now to where I would need to go. So that's the kind of journey that we're helping a lot of our clients. And marketing has to play a very important role to understand these shifts and then tailor our communication so that we don't look like we are selling, but we are really partnering in their journey to go from where they are to where they need to be.
Yes, brilliant. I think, Navin, this really you've helped us dwell on the big picture, because everybody knows that every enterprise today is saying, I want to be digital first, I want to be digital centric, but why is that happening? And how has COVID contributed to it? And I think how you beautifully summed it up in this one line, that instead of navigating the future, they are navigating the now, because the future has arrived. Yeah. So awesome. And now, would you want to talk about the Infosys approach to B2B marketing and the role of digital?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So having said that context, Jasravee, I think just to go back, Infosys is a brand that has been built on PR actually. So we had very strong founders who had great brands by themselves, very well-known personalities. So I would say the first 2 decades, Infosys never needed marketing because we were quite well known through our founders. The founders never thought that we needed too much of marketing, and we knew our audience. We knew the CIO of a large enterprise who was buying our services. We would go and target that person, and that's where the transaction happened, and that's how our business grew during that period. But over the last decade, the shift that has happened in most organizations is it's no longer the CIO who's buying technology services. It's a whole lot of other people in enterprises who are buying our services, including the chief marketing officer. The CMO has now probably more budget than a CIO has. So suddenly you saw that there are business stakeholders that you needed to target. It was not just the IT department, but it was really the business department and a whole lot of other people who were part of that ecosystem. So we needed our brand to be a lot more visible, which we were not. Like if you compare us to the Accentures of the world and the IBMs of the world, we were not as visible as them because they would do outdoor hoardings, they would do airport branding, they had Tiger Woods as their brand ambassadors, and Infosys had never believed in that strategy of really doing mass marketing. We were very, very sharp in terms of who we wanted to target, and that was our marketing. But then we realized when this whole shift happened of the changing buyer, a buyer who was a lot more widespread in his approach to look at partners, it was important for us to become a lot more visible. And that's where the journey of really building the Infosys brand visibly started, I would say. And that's when we started to look at all kinds of approaches in terms of how we would market. I don't think the direct marketing approach of our marketing has changed. We still know exactly the audience that we want to go after. We still do a lot more of direct marketing. But over the last 7-8 years, we've also expanded our scope to look at mass market brand platforms. Like we've invested in tennis as a sports sponsorship, which was not done ever in the history of Infosys. And that was a huge shift in terms of how we want to showcase our brand. It's worked out beautifully for us. And now we want to continue this whole journey of the whole thing. But our approach towards marketing has been very clear that we would do direct marketing to our key stakeholders in large enterprises. Everything that we do is measured. We measure it across two categories. We measure brand impact and we measure business impact. So every marketing that we do is measured across these two parameters. And when you look at brand impact, we look at all kinds of parameters under that, which is brand awareness, top of mind recall, how is our engagement score. And again, being a technology company, we measure everything, and ROI is really considered sacrosanct in terms of what we do. And on the business impact side, we really look at how are we really contributing to the growth of the organization from a revenue impact perspective. So we all take numbers target that we have in terms of how is marketing contributing to the growth of the business from a number perspective. How many leads are you generating? How many pipeline are you generating? So we're all measured on those factors. So it's a very data-driven marketing that we do. Very focused audience. So we measure how many people we've reached out to, the depth of our engagement, of our relationship with this audience. And over the last 3 years, we've also moved into this whole direction of account-based marketing, which is the new buzz, which is there in most technology companies now, in terms of how do you really mine your large accounts by doing very focused marketing towards that whole account itself. So it's been an increasing, I would say it's been a journey where we were dependent a lot on PR to move into a direct marketing kind of a story, to move to brand marketing plus business impact kind of a marketing, to now really going a lot more deeper into account-based kind of a marketing strategy.
Awesome. Like the entire trajectory and the why. Awesome. So, Navin, account-based marketing, you touched upon it. Why has it become such a buzzword in B2B marketing? And how is Infosys looking at, ABM in its approach? And are there any good characteristics that you would say are important that a company must follow when it comes to account-based marketing?
Yeah, no, I think we've realized this over the last 3-4 years that why this is important for us is because one, we also know that there are probably about 30% of our accounts that are the whole 80-20 rule that you have, that 20% of our accounts are giving you 80% of your revenues. And that's true for a large number of organizations. There you have your large clients which are giving you disproportionate amount of impact to your revenue. And it's important to take care of them. It's important to make sure that, and all of these large clients that you have, they also work with a lot of other partners. So it's not that we are the only partners that they have. They work with at least 10 or 15 such IT partners that they have. And it's important to be on top of their visibility metrics, or it's important to make sure that you are right on top in terms of showing them the new things that you're doing. So we realized that it is really important, and 96% of Infosys revenues is repeat business. So we hardly go after new clients. Most of our revenue comes from our existing clients, and it's a very strange figure that we are slowly trying to increase our net new logos revenues, but still 95-96% of our revenue still comes from our existing clients. So we continue to grow our clients. They continue to buy from us because they've seen our work, they trust us. And that is the reason why they keep coming back to us and giving us more business. And in that kind of a scenario, when you have 95% of the business coming from your existing clients, it's important to protect your top clients. It's important to make sure that the top clients get disproportionate amount of your attention in terms of what you do with them and how you really market to them. So that, I would say, is one of the big reasons why account-based marketing became important, not just for us, but most of the other technology companies, because this is the same trend that they also see. We started off account-based marketing with one client. It was a large client, a telecom client in Australia. And we quickly realized that account-based marketing is not really a marketing's job. It is really a job where a marketing and sales need to come together. That's the only way an account-based marketing strategy works. Unless a sales is invested into an account-based marketing program, you will never have a successful ABM strategy. So you need a sponsor for your account-based marketing strategy, which is from the sales side, which is from that account head. So the account head, whichever account that you're taking as an account-based marketing strategy, needs to be the sponsor and needs to be completely invested in this whole thing. In fact, one of the lines that we use is that with most sales guys who say that, hey, we want account-based marketing in our account, we say this thing that it'll mean that you have to work. Means it'll mean more work for you. And if you're not investing in working, if you don't have the time for investing in account-based marketing, then it's not for you, because we are very, very clear that it requires an equal investment of time from the salesperson to that account from a marketing perspective. Only then an account-based marketing will be successful. And then we actually build a plan together. We build a plan together in terms of what is the account all about, means intelligence related to the account, why is the account in that stage, what is our stature within it, how is our relationship within the account, what are the new things that we need to showcase there. So like you build a marketing plan for a business, you build a marketing plan for a single account. So you go deeper to really iron out your stakeholders in that account. You look at quarter and quarter, what should be the plan, what are the kind of activities that we do, how will you measure it on a month-on-month basis. And we look at these three parameters when we measure an account-based marketing success. And it's a very popular ITSMA framework, which is revenue, relationship, and reputation. So these are the three metrics that we use to really measure how we are doing within that account. And the other thing that we do is the account-based marketing person has to sit with the salesperson. It cannot be that the account-based marketing person is sitting in another country and the sales person is sitting in a different country. It works beautifully well when sales and marketing sit together, go for meetings together. Marketing person has a full understanding of what the account is going through, what are the challenges. In fact, we say the ABMer in that account has to almost act like a CMO of that account. So he's technically the CMO of that account and has to take strategic decisions to make sure that so it's a very strategic initiative. It's an initiative that drives both the brand metrics as well as business metrics. And over the last 3-4 years, we've increased the number of accounts that we do account-based marketing to about 22 now. And our plan is really to go after the top 50 accounts of Infosys from an account-based marketing strategy. We are seeing huge amount of benefits in terms of how it's changing our perception within that account. And also, we are able to open new buying centers within that account. So we are able to sell more within the account, primarily because they have a great relationship with us. We are able to manage them well because of this strategy, and it's working well for us. And that's the journey we are in.
Social intelligence, does it play a role here in understanding your prospect? No.
Absolutely. In fact, that's a great question. One of the things that we start off with is really, we start off with two things. We start off with something called as account-based marketing readiness. So how do you create a lot of these assets from a readiness perspective? Mm-hmm. So how do we understand each of the individuals that we're going to deal with in that account from an intelligence perspective? So social profiling of key stakeholders in that account is important. We really map the entire digital journey. So let me take an example of any client that we have. Let's say one of the large clients that we have recently announced and talked about is Daimler, which is in the automotive sector. And we can map to the fact that anybody who's coming from Daimler to our website sees content that is relevant to that account. So we made our website completely adaptive in a way that any person who's coming from that account sees content that is relevant to that individual, to that account itself. So that's the kind of personalization, that's the kind of profiling that you need to do to make sure that you are being seen as relevant. So if they are interested in cloud, the first kind of content that they will see on our website when they come to our website is related to cloud. So you have to map each of the audience in that manner to make sure that they have a positive disposition towards you.
Awesome. You know, I'm getting reminded of a quote of David Ogilvy, and I'm sure it's not in the context of B2B marketing, but even in life, you know, like he says, don't count the people you reach the people that count, you know, and account-based marketing seems like that kind of an approach. You know, it's like a more effective way of doing business and marketing.
No, absolutely, and that's a great quote, Jasravee, because it is about managing people. Account-based marketing is really about not about managing accounts, but it is about managing people. If you're able to manage people within that accounts, all the other things will fall into place. So, how do you really make sure that the people within that accounts are always seeing the positive side of you, are always seeing the trustful side of you? So, we do a lot of marketing, and we call it unmarketing, primarily because it's not regular marketing. You are not doing regular stuff of sending them a brochure or calling them to an event and the traditional kind of marketing stuff that we do. We do things like partnering them for a charity that the CIO of that organization truly believes in, and we believe in that thing. So we've actually started libraries because the account people in that account were very much in favor of spreading education to the underprivileged, and that was one of the major things that they were interested in. And we said, hey, this is a cause which is very close to Infosys Foundation. Why don't we partner and do something together? So we are doing very, very non-traditional kind of marketing in these accounts. So the idea is, how do you build that trust within that account in a way that they look at Infosys in a different light? They don't look at it like, hey, here is another vendor who's coming and selling his IT services, but here is somebody who understands me and is bringing things that are valuable to me. I mean, I can really relate to them. So the empathy factor becomes very, very important when you're doing account-based marketing.
Wow. And that's the way to go. I mean, it's reminding me of Satya Nadella's Refresh book, you know.
No,
Okay.
absolutely, and I think that's a great example. Microsoft does their I don't know whether you've seen this. Microsoft has a stories portal. It's called the Stories Hub, and they bring out human stories in that hub. And I always read that most of my time because it gives you. It's a very different way of talking about technology. They don't talk about Microsoft technologies at all. They really talk about the human problem that has been solved by technology. And by the way, Microsoft played a part in it. So, and that's really the right way to go about marketing. You don't have to market to these people nowadays because everyone is digitally savvy. If they want to know anything, they can get all kinds of information from the net. I mean, there are enough and more sources, advisors, and analysts who can give them that information. But it's only you who can provide that trusted partnership and that trusted kind of a relationship. And so what do you need to do for that? And that's really the important factor now.
Awesome. And this is the new face of marketing itself, I would say, not just B2B marketing. And
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, and you were talking about partnerships, and I mean, I think it's the toughest thing to do and the best thing to do. And now I'm coming to the relationship between Infosys and tennis. How that has been called a partnership and not a sponsorship, and that is because both have benefited tremendously. Would you like to dwell on this? How has tennis benefited? How has Infosys benefited? And this sponsorship, I think, has been it has been a long relationship.
Yeah, it's been 6 years for us with the ATP, and we're just about completing 3 years with the Roland Garros and the Australian Open. And frankly, it's been probably our best marketing strategy that we have taken from an Infosys side perspective. And just to give you a story, because I was involved in it right from the beginning of really identifying why sports marketing to why tennis to why these organizations. We had a mandate from our CEO at that point in time to say that, hey, we want to make sure that Infosys is known globally. So let's look at what are some of the brand platforms that you could look at to make sure that we are visible globally. And we looked at sports primarily because we thought that sports gave a platform for us that could make ourselves a lot more visible. And we looked at a lot of sport. We looked at Formula One, we looked at sailing, we looked at football, we looked at all kinds of sports to see where is the right fitment for us. We landed on tennis primarily because tennis is a global sport and we are present globally. So it's not a sport like football is a lot more popular in Europe, but not in the US and not in Australia as much. Similarly, golf is again a global sport, but golf, we already knew that Accenture is quite embedded into that sport. So we didn't want to go into territories that our competitors are in. and this was a sport. One, it was not just for the niche CXO audience, but it was also for the mass audience. Tennis is that way a sport that is played throughout the year, so it has a almost a 10-month kind of a period. There are lots of sports which are played just for a few months and then you're over. Rest of the year there's nothing that happens. So we wanted to look at something which is throughout the year. We wanted to look at something that has an appeal to our target audience, the C-level executives who would relate to a sport like that, and globally present. But I think the biggest reason why we looked at sport like a tennis was because it gave us a technology integration. We wanted to partner with a sport where technology can play an integral role in really reimagining that whole sport. We didn't want to just go and slap our brand. A lot of the brands who go into sponsorship do this thing that they just pay money and you have your brand, and your brand is visible across the stadium, or your brand is visible across all kind of broadcast channels, and that's the expectation. But for us, we were very, very clear that if we are not playing a credible partnership, if we are not really tangibly making a difference to your business, then we really don't want to get into this relationship. So for us, that was the most important criteria. And at that point in time, ATP came to us and said that, hey, we are looking at a technology partner who can actually take care of our entire technology operations. So right from taking a lot of their applications to cloud, looking at data. They had close to about 30 years of data. They did not know what to do with data. They had absolutely no idea what to do with the data. It was all lying in their servers. And so what could we do with this 30 years of data? So that was another challenge that we had. So it was really about how do we make a meaningful difference to the game of tennis across its entire stakeholders, which is fans, coaches, media, and coach and the player community, all of them. How do we make a meaningful difference using technology? And that, I think, was the main reason why we went with a sport like tennis. And we're very, very happy with the way it has shaped out and the kind of things that we are able to do. Lots of innovation that we have come out with now in the space of tennis. And now we see this as a great marketing tool because, and we don't do much of mass marketing with it because the technology that we create itself is marketing for us. So an AI tool that we have developed for tennis, that itself becomes a marketing tool for us. A virtual reality game that we created for tennis becomes a great marketing tool which we can go to a retailer and showcase it to them. We do 30 years of data and we collect insights from that and create a predictive analytics model. And we can go and show that to a retailer to say, or to a banker to say that how you can build a predictive model. And if we can do something like this using tennis data, imagine what we can do with your data. So it's a great story for us to really connect with other businesses and tell them that this is what we're doing in tennis and here is what we can do with you. And that's how it has benefited us. It is really about the storytelling that we have got from tennis to take it to other businesses. And now for our sales guys, this has become the best sales tool because they all use these examples and go to market.
Okay, can I say, I feel so proud that you're my batchmate because I know this has won many awards and so much is being written about it. It's, set precedents. But I think the biggest contribution it has done is it's changed the way tennis is consumed. And that is a lasting legacy, for the game, for Infosys. So the more I've read about it, the more, I'm amazed at the innovation that has happened, the virtual reality headgear, the ITP is the platform.
Yeah, it's called the Infosys Tennis Platform. Yes.
Yes. For the
so we were not the first to do this. See, IBM has been doing tennis analytics for almost 30 years.
Okay.
But again, I think the last 4 or 5 years is when technology itself has changed so much that what you were doing 20 years back is no longer relevant now. Means there is so much more that you can do.
Yeah.
So we are glad that we started it off at the right time when technology itself was changing. AI and machine learning is becoming a lot more advanced. The computing powers are very, very different right now from what it was earlier. So we are able to do a lot more innovation right now. In fact, we go with so many ideas to all of these tournaments that they are actually telling us to back off. That they just don't have the bandwidth to do some of these things. But our guys have become like from technology geeks to tennis geeks now. We are actually teaching. We are teaching machines tennis now in a way that they can actually. In fact, I'll give you a very cool example.
Hmm.
This happened a few years back. We have this tennis platform team that works with a lot of data that we have from all the tournaments. They were actually able to predict, and this was happening in Wimbledon, and they were actually able to predict where a Federer is going to serve in a match, because they had all the data of Roger Federer for the last 10 years. And for a particular situation, for a particular kind of surface, they knew exactly how he would serve. So even before he would serve, they were able to actually predict with 95% accuracy what the point is going to be like. And that's the kind of beauty of technology. We really don't want to take it to the whole betting stage of this entire thing, but I'm saying the technology is so advanced now that you can do so much things that can help a player improve his game, improve what made the difference from winning and losing, kind of a thing. And we've created a player portal where any player can log in and look at his statistics vis-a-vis any player, and figure out where he made the mistake, what he can do to actually make the mistake. You don't have to really go to YouTube and look for a match, a 3-hour match. You can actually go to our portal and actually take a clip exactly what he wants to see and only consume that. And all of this is done using artificial intelligence and completely automated. So you can get your highlights after the match is over within minutes, and you can see exactly the points that you want just by selecting a few filters, and that highlight would be ready for you.
Awesome. And it becomes an experiential marketing exercise, like you said, for the clients. They get to experience what's possible, and it is unmarketing as well. I mean, like you said. So, yeah. And now, the other thing, because as we are going ahead, 2021 onwards, events, how they're going to be is also, getting reshaped. So when they say disruption is the best time for reinvention, and, you have been privy to certain very important events in 2020 as well. How does the humanization of a digital event, digital experience happen? How important is that, and what it takes care of?
Yeah, so Jasravee, I think the events business is completely disrupted in the last 1 year that we've seen. And in our business, events are a huge part of our budget. Almost 60% of our budgets generally go to the event side, because a lot of technology companies participate in a lot of these large events, and that's where you get to meet your buyers, and that's where real business deals happen. So events used to be a huge part of our marketing mix. And once this entire thing stopped last year and people moved into this whole virtual mode, and everyone had a virtual equivalent of the physical event that is there, we ourselves created a virtual platform. Infosys has a virtual platform called Infosys Meridian, and that's where we do most of our events. But when we created it, we made sure that it is not a regular events platform like a Zoom or a Teams or any of these other platform that is there. We wanted to create an experiential platform. We wanted to create an immersive platform, because we wanted to give the clients who come for industry events the same feel that they would get from a virtual platform perspective. So how do you walk around the corridors of an exhibition area? How do you have the chance to network on a lounge that is there, which is a virtual lounge, but you still have the ability to speak and talk to each other using video and all kinds of things. So the whole aspect was, how do we move them to a very immersive and intimate kind of immersive and experiential kind of a events platform. And that's what we built. And we've been on this journey now where we are doing a lot of our events through this thing. But we've also seen this whole trend that a lot of people are not really attending these large events. What most people are now prefer is smaller events, events that are a lot more intimate, events that are on topics and with their peer group kind of a thing. So we are also looking at this model of really not really going for larger events, but moving towards smaller, intimate kind of a event strategy for us. So that's the direction. And when you go into that kind of a scenario, then you start looking at how do you humanize that entire experience? How do you really make it a lot more personal? How do you create intimate experiences for them, which are not regular kind of a thing? Because it's possible now. And the good part is, because it is virtual, a lot of the senior audience is accepting these invites. They are willing to spend that 1 hour of their time to really, they don't have to really take out 3 days and travel for an event to speak, but they can actually do it from their home. So we are getting a lot more senior people who are now agreeing to participate in these events. We just have this challenge now of how do we make it more human, how do we make it more intimate, how do we make it a lot more interesting. And then the other second challenge that we are seeing is, events used to be a huge source of leads and ROI for us. That's gone down completely. That's completely vanished for us now, because any large virtual events that you participate, you don't get much leads. You don't get the kind of leads that we would get earlier. And I think we are in this journey where we need to figure out now in terms of how do we create a lead generating kind of a mechanism which is baked into these virtual experiences. And we see that the future of the events industry is going to be hybrid. It's no longer going to be physical. Even if we go back to the physical world, there will be a digital component to it. There will be a virtual component where you will have a lot of your speakers who will join only virtually. You will have to create experiences which are virtual. So the whole phygital experience is going to survive, and that's going to be the future of events.
I love this term, phygital, Hybrid is so common, and phygital, it just kind of says it,
Yeah, no, I think I think pandemic has made us learn quite a lot of things, and we'll see how things shape for the future. But there are certain things that we are not going to go back to. I think that is for sure. In terms of working from office all the time is not going to go back. We are going to have always a distributed kind of a scenario. And I think organizations will need to change their business model. And if you look at what has happened in this pandemic, is people who had a proximity kind of a business have lost out, who only depended on proximity have lost out. But people who had optionality in their business model have survived. People who were able to give multiple options of reaching out to our consumers have survived and are using now digital tools to really expand their business itself. But people who really depended on proximity have lost out. So it will be important for every business to rethink their business model to bring more optionality into their business model.
Navin, how is India placed in the whole scheme of things? India versus the world. I don't want to say emerging economies and developed economies, or if that's the way to look at it, let us know. But, in this whole readiness for the future.
Yeah, India is actually far more advanced than a lot of Western markets, I would say. I live in London. Yeah, I live in London now, and I have a bank account here. And I still find my ICICI bank account in India to be far more advanced in terms of their technology options that they give, the value-added services that they provide. And the reason for that is they never had legacy. The reason for that is that they never had legacy. And if you look at whether it is Aadhaar or whether it is UPI, the entire payments infrastructure that India has created, the kind of the transactions that are happening, I think India is far more advanced in some of these digital kind of initiatives that is there. And the scale at which India plays is at a very, very different level, I would say. But I think the Western markets are catching up on a lot of these things. There is a lot more, I would say, appetite for innovation outside of India, which is what we are seeing. There is a lot more things that you can experiment with outside of India, but because they have legacy, it is still slow. Means you can't just rip and replace and really change everything. So it will take time for them. But smaller markets, even if you look at Africa, they have moved on mobile much faster than a lot of other markets. Because they never had the other infrastructures. They started off with mobile and they have continued on mobile. So they are doing mobile payments in transactions which are unheard of.
Yes. Okay. Navin, now that we have you here, we cannot let you go. So people who are interested in this subject, would want to know what are the books, podcasts, Twitter accounts that they could, focus on.
Okay. See, I generally look at Microsoft. I follow Microsoft quite a bit. I really find the way they come out with their storytelling approaches very good. So if you go to the Microsoft Hub, it's called the Stories Hub, I think. It's beautiful. They've got some of the best stories in terms of how technology is really doing purposeful kind of work. So the kind of work that they're doing in the education sector, the kind of work that they're doing in the healthcare sector, and it's more the storytelling approach that I like in terms. So that's one good side to really go and really look at some of the things that we are.
This is rapid fire, like literally.
Oh. Okay.
So all we're going to do is, Naveen, I'm going to, whatever I say, immediately what comes to your mind, say, don't think. This gets shot at you only if you think or elaborate. Just follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a very tough thing to do.
Okay, let's see. Let's figure out. Okay. Favorite holiday destination?
Kerala.
I like that. Mom's best advice.
Sleep.
Ananya's most often used phrase.
Take a break.
Life is not.
All work.
Oh, what I love about my child.
Innocence.
Most inspiring role model.
Nandan Nilekani.
Favorite cuisine.
Dosa.
Success.
To do something meaningful.
Laughter.
Keep it to your side always. Keep it in along with you always.
Never.
Take things too seriously.
Missing.
Home.
Celebrity.
Oh, that's a strange one. I don't have any.
I got a chance. It's okay. We'll move on. London or Bangalore?
Bangalore.
If you were a breakfast option, what would you be?
I already told you, dosa.
Super, you did so well. And I'm only referring to these rapid fire questions. I mean, that was expected, you see. The other stuff was expected. Thank you so much, Naveen. It was absolutely a joy, working with you, the entire process, And
Thank you, Jasravee, and all the best with your new endeavor. And I wish you lots of success. It's a interesting space to get thoughts and ideas from different people and really share with your audience. So it's great, and I'm sure you're going to do exceedingly well and in this space. Looking forward to your journey, actually. Cool. All the best, and thank you for this. Thank you, Jasravee.
Thank you, Naveen.